A very warm welcome, my dear students. In today's video, I will teach you everything about Coulomb's law. So let's get started. So in order to understand electrostatic forces and Coulomb's law, we need to have a little bit of an idea about what is electrostatic force. See, this word electrostatic is divided from two parts. Electro means electricity or basically charge, and on the other hand, if you talk about the word static, static means at rest. So electrostatic force, when we say, we are basically dealing with the force that exists between the charges that are at rest. Now we will talk about certain characteristics that are related to this force. Firstly, this is a force that exists between the charges at rest, and that's what I told you before. Further, it can be attractive or repulsive. That part will depend on the type of charge it is. A negative charge involved, and it would be repulsive if you have two positive charges or if you have two negative charges. So like charges would repel each other and unlike charges would attract each other. Further, electrostatic force always depends on the medium. Depends on the medium basically means that whichever medium is involved in which you are keeping your charges, that medium will affect the electrostatic force. Further, it is dependent on the square of the distance. So basically electrostatic force, you will see further, is inversely proportional to the square of the distance. That means greater the distance, lesser the force, and that's why we say that it follows the inverse square law. Further, it's a conservative force. Any force is said to be conservative if it is path independent. If the force does not depend on the path that you take to bring it or to create that system, then that force is called a conservative force. Further, now this electrostatic force and the Coulomb's law that we would be studying about, it would be valid for point charges and it is valid for spherically symmetric distributions. We will also apply it in a question and see how it works. Lastly, it has an infinite or a long range. See, infinite if it's an ideal situation. Ideally, practically, we'll say it has a long range because practically there would be too many obstacles in the path. So practically it cannot be infinite, but theoretically, yes, we can say it has an infinite range. Now, moving on further to the Coulomb's law. What exactly does Coulomb's law say? So before I read the statement, let us try and understand a little about Coulomb's law. So let's say that I have these two charges over here. Let's say I have this charge Q1 and I have another charge Q2. Now this charge Q1 and Q2, they are separated by a distance r. Now as per Coulomb's law, the force that exists between these two charges is directly proportional to the product of the two charges. That means greater is the magnitude of the two charges, greater would be the force. Secondly, this force is also directly proportional to 1 by r square, or we can say it is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. If I combine these two factors, then I would know that my force is directly proportional to Q1, Q2 by r square. In order to remove the proportionality sign, we have to introduce a constant, and the constant over here is a k. So we have force equal to k times Q1, Q2 by r square. This is the mathematical form of Coulomb's law, and it is just telling us about the magnitude of the force that exists between these two charges Q1 and Q2. Now this K is something that depends on the medium. It is something that takes the medium into account. Now in order to know about this K, see, K is basically 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, and its value is 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton meter square Coulomb minus 2. So over here we are making use of the epsilon naught. Epsilon naught is basically the permittivity of free space. Permittivity of free space means that it takes into account how easily or how difficult it is for the particles to interact with one another. Now these two charges right now, they are in air. They are able to exert a force on one another. But the same system, if we put inside water, then the amount of force that they would exert would be different, or the way they will interact would be different. Now, the fact is that charge 1 exerts a force on charge 2 and charge 2 exerts a force on charge 1. The force exerted by 1 on 2 is equal and opposite to the force exerted by 2 on 1. So this is simply by Newton's third law. Whatever force one will exert, the other will exert equal and opposite. Further, in order to talk about Coulomb's law, or in order to understand Coulomb's law in more detail, we have to know a little about its characteristics. Firstly, over there I made use of K equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Now this epsilon naught, what exactly is this? So let us understand it a little further. So epsilon naught is the permittivity, okay, and it measures the ability of a medium to resist the formation of an electric field. If two charged particles are interacting with one another, then they are interacting with one another with the help of electric field. Now, how easily that electric field from one particle can reach the other, or how difficult it is for that electric field to reach from one to the other, is what permittivity measures. The more the interaction that is there, the more easily they can exert a force. The lesser the interaction, the lesser should be the force. Further, for vacuum, the value of epsilon naught, which is the absolute permittivity, is 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12 Coulomb square Newton inverse meter square. Also, we define something known as relative permittivity, or the dielectric constant, that is represented by a capital K. It is the absolute permittivity of a medium, the ratio of the absolute permittivity of a medium to the absolute permittivity of vacuum. See, the absolute permittivity of medium generally we would represent by epsilon, and the absolute permittivity of vacuum is represented by epsilon naught. So if I take the ratio of these two, then I get my K, which is the dielectric constant. So if you would put your charges in some other medium, then the force would be different. Then rather than taking epsilon naught in your K value, you will have to make use of epsilon. Now, the force, if as I told you over here, we have the Coulomb's force, which is F equal to K Q1 Q2 by R square. This is how we have defined my Coulomb force. K Q1 Q2 by R square. Now, this same force, if you talk about now, relative permittivity or dielectric constant is simply epsilon by epsilon naught. Now, when we keep the force, or if we talk about the Coulomb's force, if F is the force that two charged particles exert on one another in air or vacuum, and suppose I put this setup inside some medium which has a dielectric constant of K, then the force that would be exerted by these charged particles in that medium with the same magnitude of charge and the same distance between them would be F by K. So the force in any medium is F by K. This F is the force in air. So basically the force becomes 1 by K times when you put it in any medium. Further, these are all the basic things that you need to know about the Coulomb's law. And when we talk about the Coulomb's law, one thing is for sure that we are talking about the magnitude being given as K Q1 Q2 by R square. But what about the direction? What about the force that these particles would exert? So Coulomb's force is basically a central force. What does this mean? So let's say we have these two charged particles, Q1 and Q2. Now these two exert a force on one another. Central force means that the force will exist along the line joining the centers of the two particles. The force has to exist along this line. This is what is the meaning of central force. Now, when we say along this line, it could be towards the charged particles, it could be away from the charged particles. That will depend on the magnitude or the sign that your charge carries. So, for example, if I just take this particular situation itself, over here my charge is positively charged. Q1 is positive and Q2 is also positive for the time being. Now we know that the force between these two would be repulsive. So if I talk about charge Q2, this Q2 charge is going to repel charge Q1. So therefore Q1 will experience a force in this direction. It's along the line joining the two centers, but Q2 is trying to push Q1 away. Similarly, if you talk about the force on Q2 due to Q1 would also try to push Q2 away, and therefore the direction of force on Q2 would be this way. It's a central force. Magnitude you can write by using Coulomb's law, K Q1 Q2 by R square. But for direction, make use of this idea that whether the force is attractive or repulsive. It's always going to act along the line joining the two charges, but it could be attractive or repulsive depending on the depending on the signs of the charges. Further, now since we have understood Coulomb's law, electrostatic force, let us quickly try and solve a question. It says a small sphere is given a charge of 20 microcoulombs and a second sphere of equal diameter is given a charge of minus 5 microcoulombs. These two spheres are allowed to touch each other and then separated by 10 centimeters. Assuming air as the medium, what force exists between them and what is the direction of force on each sphere? So I have two of these charges. One is a positive charge, as you can see, which is 20 microcoulombs. And I have another negative charge, which is minus 5 microcoulombs. Now, the total charge on this system right now, if you talk about it, is 20 microcoulombs plus minus 5 microcoulombs, which gives me a total of 15 microcoulombs is the charge on the system. Now, because we are touching these two and then separating each other, therefore, after touching and when you are separating, both of these will have the same charge. So this 15 microcoulomb was the initial charge on the system. Later on also we will have 15 microcoulomb as the total charge on the system. Therefore, this 15 gets equally divided on both the charges. So they both get 7.5 microcoulombs each. So now your charges are plus 7.5 microcoulombs and another plus 7.5 microcoulombs. And they both are separated by a distance of 10 centimeter, which you can put it in meter, and it would be 0.1 meters. And now we can directly apply Coulomb's law in order to find the magnitude of the force that these two are exerting on one another. So I know the value of K is 9 into 10 to the power 9. Q1 is 7.5 microcoulombs, so that is 7.5 into 10 to the power negative 6. My Q2 is also 7.5 into 10 to the power minus 6. And the distance between them is 0.1. So we'll do 0.1 square. If I put this value on the calculator, then my force comes out to be approximately 62 newtons. And this is a repulsive force. As you can see, both of them have a positive charge, so they will repel. If I talk about this charge, it would experience a force towards left. This charge would experience a force towards right, since both of them will try to push each other away. So with this, we are done with today's topic. We have understood how to use Coulomb's law, and we have also understood the basic characteristics of Coulomb's law. I hope you understood all the things that I taught you today, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.